Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my FIFA 13 formation tutorials. Now today I'm going to be doing 4-1-2-1-2, which is a really popular and very common formation online, but something slightly different today. What I've decided to do is change the style of these tutorials, because what I did before was just upload a game where I used the formation that I was talking about and just basically talked over the top. But what I'm going to be doing this time is really focusing the clips on what I want to show you. So when I'm going to be talking about one thing, I'll be showing clips over the top of my conversation to illustrate my point. So hopefully you guys like the new style. I'd be really interested to find out what you think about it, but let's move right on to the tutorial. Now, first and foremost, the most important thing you need to look for when you're looking for a team to play 4-1-2-1-2 with is a very nice balance. 4-1-2-1-2 requires your entire team to be balanced, and the team that I really like playing with this formation with is Chelsea, because they've got a really solid back four, got a great keeper in Petr Cech. They've got Ramirez, who has to be one of my favourite players playing the CDM role in this formation. I absolutely love Ramirez, and I'm going to get into that in a bit more detail. But in addition to this, when you're going forward up the pitch, you've got Oscar and Mata, two very talented players. You've got Eden Hazard, arguably one of the best players in the world at centre attacking mid. And up front, you've got Torres, who's a deadly finisher in the game, or not quite as often in real life. And you've got Daniel Sturridge, who's quick, pacey. And the great thing is, you've got a right-footed and a left-footed striker. So all the different opportunities you have, you can put them either side depending on how you like to play. But you know, Chelsea's a really good team to use this formation with. So if you guys haven't tried Chelsea out in this formation, go for it, because in 4-1-2-1-2, and when you're playing this formation, the most important position, in my opinion, is that central defensive midfield. And the reason for this is, you've got your back four and they're fairly flat and solid, and then you've got your CDM sitting in front of him, and everybody else in the pitch is attacking. You've got wingers, you've got a centre attacking mid, and you've got two strikers. So basically, everyone in front of that CDM is very attacking minded. So what you want to do is, you can go either two ways with this. The first way you could go is to play someone in like the Michael Essien, the Claude Makelele role. Someone in there who's just going to be nice and solid. He can tackle and he's going to sit deep and just control the play and then let your attacking players do your thing. Now, when I think of players like this, I think of players like Yaya Toure, Bastian Schweinsteiger. Bastian Schweinsteiger is not the most mobile, but when you sit him in front of the back four, he's pretty solid, he can tackle, and then coming on to the second part, he has the ability to spray the play. So another way you could go is perhaps play someone like a Yohan Cabaye in that role, who's perhaps not as solid defensively, but what he lacks in his ability to tackle, he gains in a great array of passing. So you could either use your CDM as a tank, a ball winner, or you can use him as a quarterback. Sometimes when I play this formation, I like to play Rafael van der Vaart in that position, and he can spray passes and control the play. You know, he's not great defensively, but if you keep a lot of the ball, you can pass and use him as more of an attacking option. And the reason why I like Chelsea so much is Ramirez covers all of the bases. You know, he's got mid to high 70s tackling in both stats, but at the same time he's very mobile. He can pass the ball, he can get forward. He's a great CDM in this formation, and the CDM really is your major benefit and the first major advantage that I'm going to talk about, because like I say, he sits in front of the back four. So if you want to go the defensive way and play that central defensive midfielder in a traditional role, you can have basically a back five and you are very difficult to break down. I mean, some of the clips I'm showing you here, I'm just holding the attacker off with basically no problem whatsoever, because the middle of the pitch is so solid and so compact with that CDM in position, they can't break me down. So that's the major advantage of having a CDM, because you're really tight at the back, and then when you do win the ball, if you do play someone like a Van der Vaart, a Cabaye, someone perhaps more attacking in that position, you can spray the passes and launch your play upfield. And that brings me nicely on to the second major advantage of this formation, which is the counter-attack. 4-1-2-1-2 perhaps is the most counter-attack orientated formation in the game, because like I was saying, you've got your back four with two fullbacks. So if you want your fullbacks to be adventurous, and in Chelsea they've got Branislav Ivanovic, who perhaps is a little bit more defensive minded, but then on the left you've got Ashley Cole, who is a proper world-class international attacking fullback. So you can use your fullbacks to get up the field, nice early easy pass out to go. You've got three players basically up the field at all time. You've got your two strikers, and then immediately behind them you've got a centre attacking mid, who in this team is Eden Hazard. And you can see in several clips here, you know, when I pick the ball up with my goalkeeper, it's just one throw straight to an unmarked Eden Hazard and I can get a counter attack off. And counter-attacking and 4-1-2-1-2 go together so well, because if you win the ball back, you've always got those 3 players up the pitch. And if you're playing against a guy who perhaps plays 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, you're going to have 3 attacking players against 2 centre-backs, and with a bit of easy passing you can launch plays and get goals like I'm showing you here. So that's the major advantage of having this formation, the ability to counter-attack very swiftly. But in order to maximise that, you need to have a centre attacking mid who's very good on the ball, because basically all of your attacking play runs through him. And in Eden Hazard, you have one of the best players in the game in this position. So he has great touch, fantastic passing, and he's got a decent long shot, and that's all of the things you need in the centre attacking mid. You don't need them to be blisteringly quick. Like some of the best centre attacking mids in the game, in my opinion, are players like Santi Cazorla, Steven Gerrard. You know, Santi Cazorla has mid-70s sprint speed, and Steven Gerrard's even slower than that, I think. But if they've got good ability, good dribbling, and can pass and shoot, they're ideal. And if they're quick as well, that's a bonus. But the technical stats come first in this position, because like you can see here, they're not really running too much, and when they do run, they're in a lot of space, so it isn't absolutely necessary for them to be rapid so they can burn players. All you need them to do is get the ball down, and they can play the ball into the channel. And because you're playing 4-on-2-on-2, the chances are that most of the time they're going to be in absolutely miles of space, and you can pick the ball up with them, play the ball into the channel, play the ball wide to the wingers, and off you go. But with 4-on-2-on-2, the wingers aren't really the traditional wingers in like the Aaron Lennon, Gareth Bale style, and I'll explain to you what I mean there. When you play a formation like 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, those are the 2 formations that immediately spring to mind. The wingers in this formation are your traditional style, you know, the Gareth Bale, the Aaron Lennon, and what they're going to be doing is spending 99% of their time on the touchline. And this is great because it enables you to hold the width and get the crosses into the box. But in 4-1-2-1-2, the wingers are a little bit more narrow and they're a little bit more into the pitch. And the great thing about this is, whilst when you need them to, they can drift wide and put the ball in, they can come into these little channels in between the back 4 and the midfield and give your centre attacking midfielder some more options. And you can see from these clips here, when the wingers come inside into a little bit more narrow position, they offer themselves to the centre attacking mid or the CDM. They can pick the ball up and you can get those little triangle passes going to move you up the field and get a counter-attack launched or build an attack very nicely. So the wingers are a little bit more flexible. You see them drift inside, come a little bit narrower, and when you're playing players like Juan Mata and Oscar in the wide roles like I am in this formation, that is absolutely ideal. They can drift in just like they do in real life. You know, get on the ball, pass it, have a shot, and then if that doesn't work, they can drift wide, put the ball into the box, and you can go plan B. So the flexibility of the wingers is a really good thing, and all of these 4 midfielders are your engine room. Everything good that you do will come from either your CDM, your centre attacking mid, or the 2 wingers. All of your attacking play will run through them, and their flexibility and their ability on the ball and the positions they take up are really key in launching attacks with this formation. So that's all the basic advantages, and there is a lot of them. However, 4-1-2-1-2 can come unstuck a couple of times, and the major weakness that it has is its vulnerability to a counter-attack. And that's a bit strange because, you know, the formation is absolutely excellent at launching counter-attacks, but at the same time can be vulnerable to the same strategy. And the reason for this is exactly why I explained at the start of the video. You've only really got the central defensive midfielder as your only defensive player in midfield. 90% of the time, everybody else in front of your CDM is going to be focused purely on attacking. And when you've had the ball for a while, perhaps you're passing it around in your opponent's half, Ashley Cole's going to get up on the left-hand side. Ivanovic on the right-hand side, he's going to push up. And you can leave yourself in situations sometimes where you've only got your 2 centre-backs holding the defensive part of the pitch. So then if you do lose the ball against a team who can counter-attack, all of a sudden you're going to get overwhelmed in midfield because you've only got Ramirez sitting. So basically you can have a situation when your opposition midfielder will sweep in, make an interception or make a tackle, and then launch the enemy on a counter-attack, and you've only got 3 players to deal with it. And you can see from these clips here, occasionally I got caught out using this formation because of this very thing, and it requires you to do some scramble defending, a few last-ditch challenges, and if you're not confident about doing that, and perhaps defence isn't your strongest side, 4-1-2-1-2 can leave you a little bit vulnerable at times. You aren't going to be very tight on the counter-attack, and defending counter-attacks is probably the hardest thing to do in FIFA because players are swarming forward. You've got to very quickly establish who the most dangerous threat is and try and deal with him as quickly as possible, and that's a tricky skill to master. especially with the new defensive mechanics. So that's the major weakness 4-1-2-1-2 has. And another weakness really does fit in with that. Like I've just been explaining, you really only have one defensive-minded midfielder on the pitch, and that's your CDM, in this case Ramirez. When you're up against a formation like 3-5-2 or 4-3-1-2 or even 4-5-1, you can find yourself totally outnumbered in the middle of the field. And like I was saying earlier, your wingers will drift in to help out, but if they do that, they leave the space wide free. So in essence, you've only really got 3 midfielders doing anything useful on defence. So if your opponent is using 3-5-2, you're going to be chasing a lot of shadows in midfield for a large part of that game, because if he's reasonable on the ball, he can just keep knocking it away, and you're going to have to really work hard to win the ball back. So what I like to do when I'm up against a formation like this is play defensive counter-attack, so that the 2 midfielders, the wingers, will drop deeper, perhaps making more of a central 3 in midfield instead of 2 more attacking players. And then when you do win the ball back, you've got counter-attacking on and you can push forward. So that's one way to negate that weakness, but those really are the 2 biggest weaknesses with this formation. Apart from that, 4-1-2-1-2 is excellent because you've got 4 at the back, which is always a good thing. Wing backs who can push forward. You've got a CDM who's nice and solid and he can pass the ball. And then in front of him, you've got so many attacking options. You can play counter, you can pass, you can play direct to a target man, you can get it wide and put crosses in. However you like to attack, this formation can accommodate your wishes. And that's the great thing about it. Flexibility in FIFA is always a great thing. Sometimes you'll meet an opponent who is very tight in the middle, so you're going to have to put the ball wide and put crosses in and feed off the scraps and feed off the second ball. And 4-1-2-1-2 is a great formation to do that. But guys, that's going to be the end of the tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed it, because I think 4-1-2-1-2 is a very, very good formation, but it has those 1 or 2 little weaknesses that if you manage to negate, you can turn it into a fantastic formation like you saw with Chelsea here. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed the new format I've used, and as always guys, thanks for watching and have a great day.